So welcome everybody to the Environment Committee meeting on Monday the 17th of July at 7 p.m. Do we have any apologies for absence? Yeah. Declarations of interest? No.
Are you wanting the retail group?
Yeah, I'll declare a personal interest in item 9.
As will I, yeah.
No pecuniary interests. Item 4, public participation.
We're just in time.
Yeah.
Over to you, Leslie.
Start early.
No, just on time.
I've got a couple of things, sorry.
That's okay.
There's been a leaflet going around town about the 20-minute city and all this twaddle. Can I ask the council to publish something to let the town know where we are and what we're planning on doing, if it's something that we can do?
Councillor Bond.
Can I just suggest that Homes England marketplace is thinking of having an open day, aren't they? That might be a good way of explaining.
I think it
Under
needs
the
to,
sea.
sorry, but I think it needs to come from the town council. Not
Yeah.
from Homes England, I think, because everybody's getting up in arms about it, and I think it needs to be some sort of explanation from the town council / Brecon Council / Norfolk County Council to say what sort of interest we have or don't have in it.
Michelle.
I was just going to say, one of those posts that have been going on about it, where people have posted leaflets, there was a really good letter from someone at NCC. Now, it wasn't in relation to us, it was in relation to Thetford.
Yeah.
And in that, they basically just made assurances that there are no current plans for this in any of our Norfolk towns. So I think we could most certainly
sort of steal that.
Because it was very well worded, I thought, and something that we could probably adopt quite easily. And I did think about putting something out, but I think it's a bit contentious.
Homes England, I think that's them rather than the town. And I think it's important that it comes from the town council.
I was going to say, just from a Brecon perspective, Leslie, I think they have been quite open about where they stand
I
with
appreciate
it.
that. I don't
And
think
you should be,
reads.
and that should be easily available for you to find. And as for Homes England, I wouldn't want to repeat in this forum what I discussed with them last Thursday.
No.
Michelle, from an operational perspective, could you prepare a draft of something, maybe circulate to members for approval and then publish, please?
If it goes to the main council,
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you. And also,
Sorry, could I just on that your
Yes,
comment? You're totally right, because some of those leaflets are outrageous.
well, there's nothing
Totally
on them
outrageous.
that says who it's come from, or there's no contact details, and I think that's awful because it's scaremongering. And I know a lot of people have said on the Facebook pages, this is just scaremongering. But people don't read that, they just read what they want to read, and it does scare people. Yeah, thank you. Something else I was thinking about after the kerfuffle today with the sinkhole and everything else, but it's occurred before. I was wondering whether we could have or arrange to have, I'll step on before to send an email in, quite happy to do that. Filter signs so that traffic does filter through at Connaught Plain and at the Queen's Road, Exchange Street and Queen's Square, those two junctions. If we could have filter rather than have stop and give way. Do you want me to send an email in?
If you would like to send an email in, I would obviously have to refer that to NCC, because I'm sure there'll be reasons why, but they might be able to tell us.
But it might be able, something that, would help, I think, keep the flow of the traffic better than what it is now, being sort of all stop-start.
Councillor Taylor.
I was just going to say, Leslie, the 29th, Rodri will be our district councillor
Yeah.
surgery, however, he is your county councillor.
Yeah.
So
I'm
if,
at work that morning.
if, I'm more than happy to raise it
Yeah, if you
with
could,
him.
please.
I don't know if there's anything left in his budget for him to.
We've got a new budget. We've got a new
He should
budget.
have a new budget, yeah, you're right.
Leslie, do you think it works well at the moment then, or with the sort of the give and take?
I don't, with it being stopped where you've sort of actually got to give way,
Yeah.
I don't think it works. But I think if they were taken away and there was signs saying filter,
So give one in, one out.
One and one, yeah.
Yeah.
which is what they have on lots of junctions in other towns, it seems to work and it keeps the flow of the traffic going.
Otherwise you.
And when people do it, I have noticed when people do it, that the traffic flows. I mean, sort of working on Exchange Street, it does seem to work better.
I think on Queen's Road, when people generally do use their common sense and
Yes.
courtesy,
This is it, it is,
it does flow better,
Yeah.
but often here it's a nightmare,
Yeah.
people letting people out.
especially when
on
sort of the
Queen's Road.
traffic's coming up past Lidl's and it hits that stop. And then people are coming down Exchange Street into Queen's Square, they just keep going, keep going like they did this evening when we were coming through to here. You just sit there and you wait, but if it was one-on-one, right the way round, it would help, so. That's it. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Yes.
Item 9, Queen Square Cinema.
Mhm.
Does this committee have the remit to make a resolution on what looks to be an event, not an environment matter? Now, I know the events committee got shelved because nobody would be on it.
Mm.
But I went to have a look and I couldn't find the terms of reference for this committee online. All the others are, but this one isn't. But surely the committee was set up about environment. I'm concerned that you're going to make a decision about something that actually wouldn't be official.
Michelle?
My view on that would be what we've done in the past, which is any resolutions that are passed by environment would then go to full council for ratification.
And to follow on from that, it's a item regarding the use of the public open space. Is that the thing?
Sorry?
Was that all?
Yeah, really?
I'll get you the terms of reference. on the
That'd be
website.
great, thank you.
I think they are on the
I
website.
thought they were, but I'll have a
I
look.
looked at
If,
it,
if they couldn't be found, with the
the non-policy section.
policies, they are in May's full meeting pack. Okay, moving on. The minutes of the Environment Committee on the 19th of June, 2023. For acceptance, councillor Ellis.
I've got a question. It states that I'm not mentioned on there at all.
As present.
Or not even on there.
I haven't got them in front of me, so-
And also as we go down, the election of the chair of Councillor Tyler as
Yeah.
chairman, I think I proposed that.
Yeah, it says,
And that's as well as if Councillor Tyler proposed herself.
This one, I haven't got the minutes.
Okay,
I think
are
some,
we happy to accept with an amendment that councillor Ellis proposed me as chair, and if he's not listed at present, an amendment to show him as present, please?
Yeah.
Can I have a proposal on the second of that, please? Councillor S. Taylor, councillor Bond. And all in favour? Okay, moving on, we have item 6, decoy comment, specify boundaries to give protection needed when dogs are lead. Michelle, have you got that too? Or any context? This
yeah,
was-
sorry, so this was the thing that I said I was delaying sending out the pack, because there was a bit I couldn't find and Anne wasn't in, so that's why you didn't get it, but essentially, we have a resident that contacts us quite regularly with ideas for decoy comment, and that we are in regular contact with. And one of the things that he is particularly worried about is his little dog. And so I said I would raise it to possibly be added to some of the work we're doing on decoy comment. He did have his dog get through to the road at one point and he was very upset about that. And we had some chicken wire that we could reinforce with. But I think what he's asking is whether the So he's saying the fence in the second field neighbours farmland, and then the motocross track is, and the fence at the rear. There is barbed wire at present. Would it be possible to have something better that would enable people to let their dogs off the lead safely? So that's basically what he's asking, can we consider?
Councillor JJ.
Is the fence ours?
The fence is not ours, but that wouldn't stop us putting something within that fence, but no, it's not.
Councillor Heskey.
In all fairness, not just the fence that goes onto the motocross side is inadequate, the fence that goes onto the A11 is really inadequate as well. Maybe we should look at some fencing and some like hedgerowing, some natural hedgerowing, and do some replanting, because when they cut the trees down along the A11, that left that quite exposed. So maybe we could get some costings, not only just for some fencing, but for some natural hedgerowing to encourage habitat and biodiversity as well.
Michelle.
Yes, I can certainly look at the fencing with what you're saying about the hedgerowing. Hopefully that will come in with the report from the Wildlife Trust. So I did contact them again, because we discussed it last time, and they're having a little bit of a change of personnel at the moment, so it's going to be passed on to their new person.
Yeah, the only comment I would make on that is I would be very mindful, especially with the circumstances we've had at London Road, that a hedgerow I don't think would be a sufficient boundary. I think it would have to be a
No,
double
no,
layer
no.
of both,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
But I do think that that is something that perhaps we should explore and bring back. Any further comments on that item? Item 7, which is the cemetery hedges for consideration resolution. This was something that I asked Michelle to add to the agenda, just because I was passing the other day and noticed that although we've done a substantial amount of replanting, quite a few of them have died. But there is some junior bushes that are around the ash garden. My personal view is that we could recycle some of those to infill where they've been lost, and maybe potentially open up the ash garden. But I would like members' comments and thoughts on this, please. Councillor D'Souza, something you'd like to add?
No,
Just
certainly
look
not.
like you were thinking about.
No, I'm just trying to work out where you've been.
So it's at the Queen's Square Cemetery site.
Yeah.
So if you come down the car park, like you're parking where the sports hall is,
Yeah.
it's the hedge that literally is the boundary hedge from the car park to the cemetery.
Okay.
So that was replanted last year, Michelle?
Yeah.
But quite a few of the saplings have died. But there's literally in that immediate corner, we have an ash garden that's enclosed, and the hedge was removed and that's been replanted. But actually I would like to explore the option of opening that up, so it's not just squirreled and hid away in the corner, and reusing some of those hedges rather than getting more new ones. But that is just a suggestion, of course. Michelle and then Councillor Taylor.
Just from an operational point of view, John is adamant that if we dig these hedges up, they'll die.
Okay.
So no problem if members decide to get rid of that hedge, no problem if you want to have new hedges, but the idea of reusing the hedges may not work. Just wanted to highlight that.
Councillor Taylor.
My comment was more about opening the ash garden up and recycling. Obviously, if we can recycle, that's amazing. I do know sometimes when you dig out a bush, it needs a good few days of water in and stuff before you try and replant it to give it some time to recover and some good water. But in all fairness, I sat at this table numerous years ago and said that I thought we hid our ash garden in the corner of that cemetery like a dirty little secret, and it's one reason my son's not in it. And I wasn't ready to give him up anyway, but I don't think I would have, but it's just like we hide it behind that hedgerow where it's tucked away. It's not inclusive to the rest of the cemetery.
Councillor Ellis.
If we remove, they removed the hedge before last year. Does that open it up for any more graves to go further towards that hedge is now?
So when we removed it last year, I wanted to do that actually for the same reasons as Councillor Taylor said, that I felt it was very oppressive and dingy. So when we redid the hedge, we actually did extend it and make it a bit more spacious. Obviously, if you get rid of that altogether, you really have the option to go either further with plots or further with ashes, don't you?
That's
You,
right,
you,
yeah.
you can do, you could potentially do either.
Yeah, I'm quite happy for that to happen, because my wife is very right where that is.
She's on the edge of the old hedge, isn't she?
Well, my late wife, should I say.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd be happy to remove that fence.
Okay, well, can I, in that case, can I please make a proposal that we remove the hedging around the ash garden? Repurpose if we can, but also replant, the hedges that have died in the boundary between the car park. Please.
Yeah.
Would anyone second that proposal? Councillor Ellis. And a show of hands for approval, please. That is unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Next is item 8, the mugger lighting. Have we had a response from planning? Michelle?
Yeah, we have, and we would need to consult. And we wouldn't necessarily need to go for planning because it's an improvement to an existing facility, but we would need to just check with environmental department with regards to obviously any light pollution.
Okay. Members, can I have your thoughts, please? If anyone has any thoughts about this. Okay, well, myself and Dom were both present at the last contextual safeguarding meeting. This did come up. The police are very keen for that area to have lighting. The contextual safeguarding stakeholder group, whatever they call themselves, are very keen for this area to have lighting, and it is something that I would like us to explore. Would anyone have any objections to us obtaining quotes to see what the cost implications were before making any further commitments? Councillor Taylor, then Michelle.
I think as long as I think it's a good idea, it will discourage antisocial behaviour and obviously improve the usage of the facility. But Thieves Lane would really be your only area, maybe Paddock Gardens, that we would need to consult with the residents there, because they'd be the ones affected by any light pollution and any extra noise.
Michelle?
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Taylor on that, and they're not actually that close, so if it was cleverly positioned. The only thing the ground staff said, that they just wanted to be mentioned is the mugger is the worst area that they have to deal with in terms of vandalism, and they were saying, well, that the amount of broken glass they clean up there is horrendous, and they said, oh, if there's lights on, does that mean they're going to stay out there longer, which means there's going to be even more broken glass? You know, you can't win with these things, but I just wanted to have that, you know, I just wanted to raise that there's a lot of issues. It may be that it being a better lit area stops the broken glass, I don't know, but I just wanted to mention it.
Councillor Taylor.
I would agree. We've had residents come and send pictures actually of broken glass down there on that facility. We could always put a CCTV camera up there for a little while. We did have one because it used to be used in the cemetery when we had vets from the cemetery. I don't know whether the council still have it, but there was one that used to be moved about.
Let's chat about deployment.
Yeah, but we have one of our own that we used in the cemetery. But I just think if they're on a timer like the skating park and they all go off at the same time,
Like 9 o'clock or something.
at 9 o'clock, it's mainly in the winter that we're going to use them,
Yeah.
not really in the summer. If they went off at a reasonable hour, hopefully,
So they are all right.
Yeah.
so yeah, you wouldn't have them on all night anyway.
Councillor J Taylor and Councillor Bond.
I would say, same as Councillor Estola, good, both on CCTV.
Councillor
Yeah,
Bond.
I thought on the CCTV, I thought we're buying some mobile ones.
No, I think what you might be referring to is we had an item from Brecon regarding mobile CCTV.
Yes. Yes.
And the two areas that I said we'd be really interested in for those, were London Road, because although it's not an agenda item tonight, people have started to try and ruin the new play area.
Right.
Including gouging up the wet floor and things like that. And also, we know we've had antisocial problems at the Dales, so, and a growth of the tennis courts. So we're very much interested in that. It's might just be worth adding this on as another sign.
But I think it's a good idea to have the lights down there, especially going off at the same time as the skateboard.
Would anyone like to form a proposal? Councillor Taylor?
Well, I was going to say, we probably only need two, and if we face them, so they backed Chiefs Lane and pointed onto it, that might help with light pollution, and maybe when we consult with the residents there, if we stated from point A that that was our intention, to have them aimed into the field, that might actually bring the residents on board a little bit, because sometimes residents straight away just sort of think, oh my God, it's going to affect us. But if we put it out there straight away, this is our intention, and we go into consultation with a firm plan, that might help us, but I'm happy to propose.
Yeah. And just saying that, it's when you get a proposal, the companies can do a light map as well, which will help in the consultation. So that will be handy.
Thank you, Roger.
But I'm happy to propose we explore the project.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
And show of hands for Clifford, please. That's unanimous as well. Thank you. Moving on, we've got item 9, which is the Queen Square Cinema. Everyone have the papers in their meeting pack. Does anyone have any comments on this, please? Councillor Bond.
Yes. Is Breckland committed to contribution?
Well, that is a good question. So basically, at present, I have been working on this with the APRA retail group from a committee member's perspective, I suppose. I have spoken to officers at Breckland about this. There is an appetite to support. That is reliant on the town council also supporting. It hasn't been formally agreed, but they have expressed an interest in this event. Councillor Taylor.
I was just going to say, for Councillor Bond's peace of mind, I think they wanted clarification from the town council before they would fully commit, because they didn't want to be, I think, left holding the full bill, if in a polite way.
Yeah,
So
that makes
if
sense.
the town council had buy into it, then they also would.
Any further comments, questions?
How long were they considering it for? Is it for one night or
So it is for one night. There is scope to have the screen for longer. But from the discussion with the retail group, the purpose being obviously wanting to draw people into the town centre and to support and promote local businesses. A lot of our high street is closed on Sunday, so for their aims and objectives, it didn't really seem that a Sunday would be good value for money in that respect, although it is better value for money for the town council. And in respect that it's cheaper to have it for the 2 nights than the, or it's not cheap to have it for 2 nights than one, but the increase is smaller. We did approach the FunFest team to say, you know, we're only interested in the Saturday really, but would you benefit in any way, or is there anything that you could make use of? But unfortunately, a lot of their committee members are away or otherwise engaged on the 20th, and the screen provider can only provide a screen on the 19th, because obviously it's quite late in the summer now and we are stretched. So it would be for the one day. But with a view to have 3 screenings throughout the day, so one probably around 1 o'clock, another one maybe 3, half 3, another one about 5:30, 6. So, and make a day of it. That would be the vision. So I think it's really just to gauge whether or not members would be supportive. This can be referred back to full council for ratification. But obviously, from Breckland's perspective, they want to know there's buy-in, and obviously the screen provider has got it on hold at present. So, and kind of a view as to whether or not it's going to be supported would be very much welcomed.
Sorry.
Mhm.
The next full council meeting is on the 7th. So it's only 12 days, isn't it?
That is, yes, that is true. That would be very tight.
Yes.
That is a very good point. Although I am confident, I mean, I don't have the terms of reference to hand, I'm very welcome to have a quick look at them.
That's what I was actually gonna ask you to do, if
yeah.
that can
Just bear
maze
with
me impact,
Just
can you bring
bear
them up and
with
see
me
what our
too.
discretionary spend is?
I know that we have full delegated decision making, which I think the point that was made is off the back of the fact that the Environment Events Committee never did. We do. So just bear with me. Just finding the meeting paper for May.
And just on this, there's a preferred option, which is the 8x4 metre screen. One like I'm a bit hoarse today. And that's at £1,890. 50% of that would be claimed on back from. So it's £100,000 for the council. The one so that's a preferred option. But I do think we probably need that ratified and confirmed by full council.
Councillor Taylor, maybe Michelle can thingy. I don't know how things have changed, but this committee could spend 20 grand on a tractor. I don't know if so if we can buy and agree to buy equipment for our staff at numerous, huge amounts of money, surely.
Okay, Environment Committee terms of reference. Activities and projects in the I don't think it has a set budget, but it does have full delegated decision making. And I do consider this obviously as a use of town council public open space.
Especially if it brings in 1,000 people into the town.
I do think that this would be an activity or a project that would probably meet the mandate of the bill, because it is a project and an activity being undertaken on town council open space.
Yeah, I agree. It's open space. Is it within the remit, town clerk, to actually send an email around all councillors just to get that confirmation? If we do make a decision now, just to make sure that we are all above board and.
I really wish I could look at things on this laptop. It would make
I
me
think
so
you-
easier. Without having them in front of me, my belief is that we would need full council agreement on this, but I haven't got them in front of me, and I think Councillor Taylor wrote them, so she would like to disagree on that. But I think it's a full council issue personally.
I think it would be entirely appropriate, and this is just my opinion, for us to pass a resolution this evening. And either get that ratified at full council, or, as has been done, circulate and then ratify at full council by email, but that is up to the committee. But I'm just mindful that obviously the date is fast approaching, there was only one date available, and then that is otherwise a missed opportunity for our this summer. Unless, and the other alternative is an EGM at the earliest convenience.
Which would be Friday, wouldn't it, from tomorrow?
No. Saturday tomorrow, yeah, but we don't want to have a meeting on a Saturday, do we?
No.
So from my perspective, we have in the past gone around by email to ask if people are in principle in agreement with something before we go ahead. However, when I've done that recently, it's been said that I shouldn't have done that. So I think we need to have an idea on whether is this something we do or is this something we not do? I think.
If it's lawful and, you know, we can do it, then we could commit.
I think, well, you agreed to ratify later, so it is a slight bending of the rules, but but there's no harm in it if everyone's in agreement that that's the way we operate, but we either do operate like that or we don't, and we need to make a decision, I think.
I'm quite happy as long as it is open and transparent, and I think if something is ratified, and there is then an auditable paper trail, that I would say would suffice, but I think if we are literally in a position where we're saying we maybe want to err on the side of caution, an EGM probably would be more appropriate, but we would obviously have to speak to Councillor Tara about that, unless any two members here want to call for the EGM, because it otherwise requires two members. Councillor Tara.
I don't personally like voting on stuff via email, especially if I've not got all of the information, and I'm mindful it will have only been this committee that's been given that plan. So I stick by the fact that I don't particularly like to agree on stuff by email. I like it to be in the open forum with a discussion. But if you are saying that we have full delegated powers as a committee, then we have full delegated powers to make a decision that does not need to be ratified by council. If that's what what our terms of reference say, we have full delegated powers. That is, the council have agreed that mandate, they've agreed those terms of reference, they've agreed to give us that power.
And actually, the spend now falls within your discretionary spend, does it not, Michelle? Is that
How much is it going to be?
£945.
Yes, it would.
So then I'll propose that we do the
Clarification, if the proposal here is for, it's 1,890 for one night. And then we'll be reimbursed, so we'll have an initial outlay of 1,890. Does that still fall within the remit? I don't know, I'm just saying that.
So is the idea that we would have to pay it and then we'd get half of it back?
That is true, yes. Yeah.
So again, it's one of those technically not 100% quite right, is it?
Councillor Taylor.
I'm going to go that I propose we do it under our delegated powers, and if anyone would like to take us for a JR, put your hand in your pocket for 25 grand.
I don't think there would be grounds to anyway, if I'm honest. Like, honestly, I do think that this would constitute an activity or a project. And I do think it is environmental because it is being a use of our open space to deliver that activity and project. And we do have full delegated decision making. Councillor Leslie.
We do have delegated authority without our budget. I think we're straying into dangerous areas and setting precedents as a council because it suits our needs at the moment. I think what we need to do is, if you want to do it right to the EGM, is probably the best course of action to do it. It leaves us beyond reproach. It means all councillors, not just the ones around the table, have an opportunity to look at this. And I really don't feel comfortable bending the rules at this stage, particularly where there's been previous criticism about such perceptions.
I think that's a fair comment. I don't actually feel like the rules are being bent. I feel like I'm just giving a justification to the fact that I do feel that it would be within the mandate of the committee to do this. And although a budget isn't set, we have spent money in this committee many a times, and we have the decision ability
It's
to
a
do so.
dangerous thing. I mean,
I do agree. I do agree.
Councillor Taylor has made a proposal, but also declared an interest earlier.
I'm personal, but not pecuniary, and I'm allowed to vote on a personal.
Actually,
I can discuss. Well, can I propose them for an EGM? I've called for an EGM.
Yeah.
It takes two.
Councillor Taylor.
How quickly would Bretland repay us?
I wouldn't be able to comment. I wouldn't be able to comment on that.
I think the EGM is the right way to go.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
feel we'll come
I was just saying,
to
second that.
Two, right, we
Right,
are to
two
call for an
plus two.
EGM.
Okay.
I'll just make it very clear now, I cannot do Monday evening, I could do earlier in the day on Monday, but I cannot do Monday evening, because I wouldn't be normally scheduled to have a meeting, so we'll do it as soon as we can, but I might have to throw out a couple of dates for you.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Chair. Are we saying that, are we making a resolution now on principle that we would like to go ahead with it and the EGM is for full ratification, or is the EGM for discussion?
I
So discussion.
Yeah.
Yes.
discussion, and that doesn't warrant a resolution because the two members have put
Yeah.
it in accordance with
Okay,
with
thank
the
you.
legislation. Okay, moving on. Bear with me. Going back to my agenda. It is, so tender for hedge clearing.
This is a really quick one, it's operational, but I just thought it's something we haven't done before, so I'm gonna bring it forward. The hedge flaling, so this is the thing that the guys can't particularly do, because it's along the roads and it's highways type work. That we normally get an outside contractor in, it's becoming harder and harder to get people that want to quote for us, because, you know, it's like, got to get 3 quotes, people are fed up quoting, they're not getting the job. One thing that I thought might be more attractive is can we not do 3 years or 5 years or even 4-year terms? So when you quote for the contract for the next 3 years or the next 5 years, because it just makes it worth people.
That is a very good idea.
That was it.
I propose that you do that.
Councillor Bond, everyone is in agreement. And then the request from the youth club was storage shed in the car park at rear of the town hall for consideration and resolution.
Okay, so this was a project that another councillor had been working on, and this seems to have gone very quiet. The youth club are getting a little bit anxious, so we agreed that the youth club could come here from September. Which I think would be really nice to have somewhere quite central. The problem is the storage. So we've already said we can supply them with, you know, we've got lots of lockable cupboards in there with plates that haven't been used for 30 years. You know, for things like PlayStations and high value items, it isn't a problem. But they have things like, you know, I can't remember what they're called, where you play football on tables, you know, that they have other things that they can't store. And there was talk of them having a shed, which I thought would work next to my car parking space, so just in front of the heritage. Now, planning have confirmed we can do that, and Councillor Dale had a contact for somebody that was willing to donate a shed. So the cost to us is pretty minimal. But obviously we have to agree that we're happy to put it there.
Councillor Taylor.
I have no issue with any of that, but I actually thought somebody had bought Methodist Church and was quite happy to keep it open as a community facility.
I don't know, all I know is I've had to leave.
Only got told that by a couple of, literally about, when was we at the church? Weekend before last? And she was saying that it had been bought by somebody that was going to allow the usage to carry on as is. But sheds always come in handy.
I think when you say the cost would be pretty minimal, would there be a cost if it's being donated?
Well, I don't think so, but we might, for example, want to put it on skids or something, and I guess I presume that this donor would put it up, but if not, our guys would probably put it up. You know, I haven't explored it any further. I haven't explored it any further because I really felt they needed to come to some sort of committee before I did anything about it. But we haven't got anywhere in here downstairs space big enough for the kind of things they want to store.
I think it'd be a really good idea to have something here, and we know how difficult it is for youth activities. So I think the idea, if you think that, you know, you can cope with the car parking as well, you know, sacrificing that space, I think it's a sensible thing to do.
Well, the idea would be where the ramp goes up to the heritage, you've then got space next to that, so you can't park there anyway, but you've almost got an extra dead bit of space. So the idea would be that actually you could do it without really encroaching on parking spaces. was my
Well, I think it's well, I propose that we go ahead with it, but only in the instance of giving the space and pursuing
yeah.
the shed.
Do we have a second of councillor Vaughan's proposal? Councillor Leslie, and a show of hands, please. That's unanimous. And that is all of our business for this evening. So thank you all very much. We've got one more. Okay, the day, sorry, this was
I was
on the
giving
second page. I was getting too eager to get home then.
If I may just add something on this,
Mhm.
so we obviously have put this on again because we did recirculate the proposals. You might notice there's an extra page on here, so this week, completely out of the blue, I got cold calls by this guy, and I said, I'll put it on, because as it happens, we have got something. So you will notice there is one additional page with a different option that's been added.
And what is it that we have spent?
46,000.
Is that from the S?
Oh, it says 106, yeah.
I mean, from the start, I feel like we're in a position where we've got like two options. There's £46,000. I know that previously when the council have spoken about this, they've looked at making small changes at each of the play areas, haven't they, to distribute that money. I think that would be my preference, although we do have particular play areas that are significantly outdated now. I think that the Norfolk Drive play area is probably one of those that is maybe hasn't got as much offer as some of our other play areas. And I know that when we done one of our previous walkabouts, we actually did say that rather than maybe do much within the player itself, because I think it has got quite limited space as well, it's a small one. In the far corner, we did talk about adding in, so I actually think that area,
So that was discussed, something like that was discussed for Norfolk Drive outside, so they've got something a bit more substantial.
in the tree line at the back, and I do think that I would like to see a lot of the investment go there. That is just my view though. Councillor Leslie.
Yeah, I was looking at the area that we've got available in Norfolk Drive. The trim trail or the timber clamber stack 3 looked like it fits that area pretty good. And it was sort of along the lines of what we were looking at, together with something like some of the small items that we have would be the timber wall and stretch posts. That would fit into that area rather well. You've got the adventure trail, which I think is too big for that area. Looking at it. And that may be suited for something more like Lamont. And then you've got,
it already has one.
as it does already.
Okay. It's got the wonky bars in.
It's got the wonky bars, yeah. But you've got that, and as we said about the zip or the aero runway and the zip line, the recreation ground is about the only area that we own ourselves, which should be suitable for it, which I fully agree is a good idea.
Did you not have a resident at one of the full council meetings about one of the play areas asking for investment? Do you remember that? Was for if
So-
goals or
Yeah, so we have had issues at Signet because that's an old wooden play area, and we repainted it all and it hasn't worked as well as we'd hoped. The suggestion, we have contacted professional play area companies to come and refurbish that. And they're basically saying, no, just go and find a painter and decorator because it will be prohibitively expensive to have it done by a play area contractor, which is why we tried to do it in the house and that didn't work as well. So that is another one that is quite tired, but it's because it's all painted timber, it's harder to keep looking smart.
Well, I think part of the budget would be wise in us, particularly from an environmental point of view, is to spend some of this money on the refurbishment of those equipment. I know we said the same about Norfolk Drive, getting that refurbed as well. So I think there's a good portion of this which is going to be refurb costs to make the use of the equipment and bring that up to sort of spec, yeah. But also adding a few bits of equipment where we can to enhance the profile of those remarks.
So would it be worth, I'm just thinking, because what I've done here is give you some options.
Mm.
Would it be better for me to go away and do a proper proposal for the next full council? Because let's be honest, I won't be here after that. But do a proper proposal for the next full council with a breakdown of getting the cost to refurbish things, suggestions, like you said, well, timber stack at Norfolk
Yeah.
Drive, and then you've actually got a little bit more meat on the bones of what you could do with this money.
I think it would be very helpful, especially from a refurbish point of view, to understand how much of the cost would be
Yeah.
taken by making those improvements at predominantly Signet and Norfolk Drive, because I think they are the two that need it the most, and I think they need probably the most investment. And then obviously the additional play equipment across them with a zip line, with the view to put a zip line at the recreation ground. I mean, I don't think that wants a resolution either, because
No.
it's completely operational for Mr. Shell to go draft the papers. I'm mindful that Leslie's just put her hand up. Would members mind permitting
I was suspended standing orders and else for
Roger and a show of hands? Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you for listening, Steve. I haven't seen the plans, so I can't be judging on what you've got there, so I don't know whether this is included. But I have been aware that on television recently, that there's been a lot that's said about ensuring disabled youngsters are included in new play facilities that are installed. I just wondered whether that was taken into consideration in any of these. John?
I do know, actually, Leslie, the Lomond play park, that there is an accessible roundabout, I believe, isn't there? For-
We added that one.
Yeah.
recently.
So I was just wondering, sort of with new ones, whether that was part of the remit. I think if it isn't, maybe it should be. Yeah.
So just to respond to that, it's something we're very mindful
Thank you.
of. Certainly with the London Road redevelopment, we made sure that was quite hot. The only thing I will say about that is not everything that is inclusive is necessarily going to be wheelchair friendly. There are other things from a sensory perspective and for people with less dexterity.
Yeah.
So the idea would obviously be to have things at different levels to suit different people, children. And if I go away now and make this more of a project, then as part of that, I will be saying, well, actually, what do we have that's accessible already at this site? Actually, well, we've got a couple of things at this site. We've got nothing at that site. We should be prioritising this site and some things. So I will make sure that that's included in what I do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. And that is actually us done.
That is it.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Very much. Thank you.